like to call this meeting to order, the regular meeting for Florence City Council, Monday, July 15th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councillor Van Houten.
Here.
Councillor Stiefel.
Here.
Councillor Mergelman.
Here.
Councillor Gardner.
Here.
Councillor Stone. Here. Councillor McKinnon. Here. Mayor Wolf.
Here. Our first order of business are presentations to the council from applicants for the outside agency funding program. City Manager.
Under the new outside agency funding request process, applicants move forward by the selection committee are required to provide a presentation to the City Council in order to be able to receive funding from the City Council. For 2024, we received 11 applications, and all 11 received the minimum 20 points required to move forward in the process. The Council will not make funding decisions tonight. Instead, funding will be further discussed at a work session beginning at 5 p.m. on Monday, August 5th, 2024, prior to the regular City Council meeting for that evening. This work session, like all City Council work sessions, will be open to the public. Funding will then be voted upon under new business during the regular council meeting beginning at 6:30 p.m. that evening. Also included in that work session will be a discussion of the application process and any potential changes that need to be made following this first round of applications, as the selection committee found some areas of opportunity for future improvement and staff received some comments from applicants. The 2024 applications were interpreted generously when potential technical issues with the application itself were found. For example, in the section regarding previous funding, applicants who had received ARPA or COVID money from the city in the past did not include this in the application. But because this was a universal issue, the selection committee determined this was a flaw in the application, instructions, or other portion of the process itself that should be rectified moving forward, rather than treating it as a disqualifying omission for 2024 funding. I would like to turn this over to City Attorney Findley for a moment so that he may provide a reminder about recusal.
Yeah, you guys may recall the last time we talked about this, and just wanted to talk a little bit about the vision moving forward. But after your next work session and at the next, or when the meeting to vote on this, the funding issue is, we'll be voting on each one individually. That again allows anyone that feels they need to recuse themselves the possibility to do so on any individual vote, while still being able to participate in the process and discussion on and votes on any of the issues or organizations that they do not have conflicts of interest with. As a general reminder, kind of across the board, we've established that there's no pecuniary relationship of any of y'all with these groups, so there's no absolute need to recuse on that basis. For optics or otherwise, you may choose to. But ultimately, just want to let you know, recusal is not mandatory or even recommended, but feel free to do what you wish.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder to presenters, a maximum of 5 minutes on the presentation. And there will be questions from council members if we have some. Again, we talked about the workshop before the next council meeting. If you want to be present at that, as we are talking and we have other questions that come up and you are at that workshop, we may ask you questions. There's no time for public input there, but we can refer to individual organizations. Okay? I just also want to remind you that we have your packet. You know, everybody's gotten your packet, your application. So you don't have to read things word for word. You know, I would say be as specific as you can. Get right down to what the activity, the program, the service you are asking for. You know, what the objective is and how it's going to be measured, and give us as much detail in those as possible. And then we'll open it up for questions from the council. Any questions from the council before we get started? Okay. First up is the agricultural and cultural traditions, which I believe is the Rialto. Is that the Rialto Theater? Okay. Yep, and make sure that you push the button and it's green and speak loudly into the mic.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay, I'm Marty Lacoste from the Rialto Theater. I haven't been here for a while, but I was here a couple years ago representing the Rialto. I think that those of you who are familiar with the community may have noticed that the marquee at the Rialto has changed a little in the last couple of years. It used to be kind of a representation of the crossroads of our lives here in our small community. A lot of birthday congratulations, anniversary congratulations, and et cetera on the marquee. But now we don't do that anymore because we're so busy featuring what we're doing at the Rialto right now. In our last fiscal year, we had 45 musicians and band performances on stage at the Rialto. We did 15 community events. That's in the last 2 years, not in the last year. I'm misrepresenting that. And then we did 15 theatrical performances in those last 2 years. Our audience for all of those incidences or events are usually 70 to 100 people. When we first started after COVID, we were getting 15 to 40 people in that big auditorium. It feels a whole lot better now to have up to 100 and at least 70 people. And a couple, last month we had a blues review that sold out with over 200 people in the auditorium. With support from the city, our goal is to branch out with our advertising media to radio stations. We think that there are a lot of people who support community theater and live performance who listen to the radio. And we think that that's a place that we could bring in more people to the community, to these performances from Colorado Springs and Pueblo. We notice that there's a lot of interest in those communities in regional and in community theater and in music events. Why does that benefit our community? We're supposed to be, we are a live performance center. And so we're trying to bring that cultural experience to all the residents of our community and our region. We work with other civic theaters all around the region to do that, and with local musicians. But bringing people in from outside also stimulates our economy here in Florence. Not Canyon Cities, not Penrose, our economy. When we bring people in and they do come in and eat before a performance, they sometimes stay here in town overnight. They shop. They sometimes come early enough to shop. Our doors open at 6:30, and they're on the street before that. And we know that because sometimes when we open the door, some tired and hot or cold husbands want to come in and sit down while they wait for the shoppers to get to the performance. So the last 3 months, we've been surveying our audience just to determine that we're on the right track with this, about where all the people are coming from. They come from every corner of our county, and from Pueblo, Colorado Springs, and Custer County. And we also have tourists. Almost every performance, there'll be a couple of tourists or a family of tourists who will say, oh, we're from New Jersey, we're from Texas, we're from England, we're from New Zealand. We've actually had those come in, and Germany also. So we're doing, we feel like with a little more oomph to our advertising, which we can do on stations like KRCC, we can reach people who are interested in these cultural events outside of our community. We need your support to do that because even though we brought in the last fiscal year $52,000 on performances, $33,000 went out in producing those performances, and things like our utilities are $13,000 a year.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Do we have any questions here from council at this point?
Oh, I got my sunglasses on.
I had you, in your application, you talked about 2 different stations. Do you have those picked out?
KRCC, and the other one we're still doing some market research on. We currently do use KRLN also, so. And that's, we actually have a weekly program on KRLN. So,
But the
we
but
don't
the other 2 stations would be Colorado Springs, Pueblo based? Or?
yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Florence Arts Council.
Do you want our name and address?
We don't need your
Skip
address,
that
but your
one.
name would be
All
good,
right.
yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Florence Arts Council was founded 20 years ago. We are an all-volunteer organization. The only paid people we have are a 10-hour per month janitor and a part-time bookkeeper. We truly believe in cooperation with other entities. For example, we work with the Rialto so that we have non-conflicting events. We are working with the museum to do another bridge mosaic on a piece of property they own on the east end of the ditch. We have supplied artists to the senior center. We work with the downtown merchants to support their May veteran artist window displays, and we supply artists for that. And we also supply free entries for our show that month of May for the veterans. Our free Shakespeare performance in the park last week was in cooperation with the Royal Gorge Association of Realtors, and we had a 30% increase over how many people showed up last year versus this year. Our public arts program showcases our various areas within the city. There's 3 kinetic sculptures that are downtown, the butterfly tree in the park, the John C. Fremont sculpture that's at Pathfinder, the tile mosaics along the ditches and on the 2nd Street Bridge, and a handout identifying privately owned wood and metal sculptures that are throughout the city. And not only the citizens come in and take that piece of paper when they have company, but we have tourists come in and take that so they can do kind of a driving tour and see all the different sculptures, especially the tree sculptures, because we have a lot of them in town. We offer meeting space. For example, in May, some of the seniors from the city met with Representative Brittany Pedersen, and they had a round table discussion on aging. The other end of the scale, we've had Head Start has had a show for 3 years, and this year they added preschool Head Start to doing a show, which we don't charge for. We change our art shows once a month. The show that's currently hanging is called Local Color, and it's a collaboration between 8 different entities within the county. Some galleries, some just groups, like a group of quilters. You should come see it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Our children's art camp, it gives kids a place to relieve some of their summer doldrums and mom a break. It's been running for 6 years and is ages 7 to 17. We divide them into 2 groups. 2 years ago, we had the older kids do part of the bridge mosaic, and we hope that eventually those kids will be able to bring their children and say, see what I did on that bridge, because it should last a while. We've had 2nd grade classes for 2 years come and help us plant our gardens, but they also do an art project so they have something to take home. Our concert series, it continues to grow with sellout crowds on 2 of the shows already this year. Our December Christmas sing-along is always well received. We have open mic on Wednesdays, and right now we had a jam session going on and open paint. As you can see, we are an all-inclusive art center. It just supports another reason for people to live in Florence. We're not just a bunch of painters. Any questions? Thank you.
Any questions here?
No.
Well, I got a quick on your application. You talked about including supplies, salaries, marketing.
The salaries is paying the teachers. It's not a salary.
Okay, so it's more like a fee for
yeah, it's
having an artist come in and
talk.
So
or
we-
teach. I'm sorry.
okay.
You know, and that if it makes up a difference between what people can pay, let's say, and what we have to pay the teachers to keep the teachers.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
it's not a salary of people.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Yep. Next up, Florence Chamber of Commerce.
So can I pass out, this has just an article in this magazine about us, and I thought you might be interested in that. So I got one for each side. So my printer broke down today, so I'm trying to read my writing. I'm Joan Elliott, and I'm the president of the Florence Chamber of Commerce. And I think the biggest question that we have is, why have a chamber in Florence, Colorado? It's been important since 1902. We were one of the first chambers in the United States that started. One of the first projects we had was called Environs, and it was a book and a brochure that talked about Little Florence, Colorado, and it was distributed all across the United States, telling everybody about this great little city. During COVID, activity, of course, went down. And you know that it was a challenge at that time. How do you support this town when everything is closed down? One thing that we did is we got grants, I think it was from Newmont, and we got PPC products. And we distributed them all downtown to all the different stores, and then also to all the citizens, which included sanitizer and masks and hand stuffs. So since COVID, we've been working hard to reinvigorate and try to figure out how do we provide support to this town. I personally became involved about 7 or 8 years ago and recently became president. And so I believe, for the last 2-3 years, we've been rebuilding. And we've been reaching out to the whole community in this city. One of our biggest mandates has been to reach out and collaborate with all different entities in Florence. So we collaborate now with Penrose and Apple Days, Pioneer, Rotary, Senior, Pathfinder, so that we can go back and forth about what our events are. Citizens, we want to upgrade what Christmas is all about here, our Christmas experience. Elks with Easter, Emergent Campus, which is real important here because they're one of the biggest employers, and it really doesn't have that reputation yet. The Shopper, Daily Record, radio stations, most nonprofits on a regional basis. Galaxy Media has worked with us a lot so that we could have a lot of video, car show, junk teak, fair board, the fair. So what we're really doing is trying to do outreach so that we can work with everyone and provide a great experience. So what our needs are, I believe we need a public information solution on Main Street, a kiosk or something where the walking traffic for tourists can go in and they can get event information or they can get the propaganda that we have about everything that's going on in Florence. Another one of our needs is, we do a lot of marketing and we'd like to expand our television marketing. The kiosk would be situated on Main Street, and it would be walking traffic for tourists. The marketing and advertising lately has been challenging. As technology increases, we can rely on print, we can rely on social media and flyers. And so we'd like to do more television so we can expand to the state and the regional crowd. Let's see, some of the things that are coming up now, we're going to have a fall musical and art event in Pioneer Park. We have doubled our membership in this past year. As we've reinvigorated our business after hours, we have business after hours now. We include the whole community and just not membership or businesses, so that everybody has a chance to understand what's going on here in Florence. Our ribbon cuttings have expanded, and we use these ribbon cuttings now for new businesses, and we urge people to use us for ribbon cutting for celebrations, like their first year anniversary or their 20-year anniversary or whatever. We depend upon your continued financial support to fulfill all that I've talked about. There's many cities in the world named Florence, and our effort with your support is to put Florence, Colorado, on the map. Any questions?
Have you thought about where on Main Street?
Well, we got about 5 different places, and you know, I've talked to some of them, and we're just really kind of negotiating, but we want it right down in that 3-block area.
Any other questions?
Would it be manned by volunteers?
In the summer would be manned, although, you know, we've got a quote too also where we could have a building, and they've found a solution if, like Christmas and other different holidays, that we could have it manned and they wouldn't be, it could be insulated. So like a DIA, I don't know if you've ever been out there with all the people there in the cowboy hats that, you know, are ambassadors that kind of help people. So it would probably be something where we could, I'd like to engage with the senior center, you know, and they'd like to, there's people that would like to get out and to do things. And that would be, I think, a good solution to have it manned.
Thank you. Florence Historical Archives.
I'm not good. I'm Millie Wins from the Florence Historical Archive. You all know that what we do is collect history, and basically from the folks in Florence. Our main mission is the collection, preservation, and the dissemination of our heritage. Where we have a problem is on copying and printing the information that we receive, not only from the public, but from our legal documents, which must be correct. The only public outreach we have is through the Florence Farmers Market. At this point is where our input comes. As a result, we've developed I got it. You've all seen this, a walking tour. Every month, we choose one block in Florence. For every of the 4 weeks, we feature a building. People are very much interested in the stories and the tales. They want something in their hands to carry home with them. So we have developed a walking tour. And as you can see, it is a recipe size. From the graphics that you see here, the size of something like this is problematic. So at the table ourselves, we have enlarged each page of the walking tour. The walking tour of the Historic District. Next is the featured building of the week, which we call cookies, i.e. information. Right next to it is cookie crumbs. This is from our context survey. To keep the records and the surveys of the building and history of Florence, there is a formal underlying survey system with formal records that must be maintained, which means copied, scanned, printed, and disseminated. So we're having, in all of our aspects of archival efforts, which is intake, preservation, and output of archival information, we needing printing, copying capabilities. As you can see from cookie crumbs, We have maps and photos. These are antique maps. These are actual old photos. We must be able to copy and preserve them, which, as you can look at the quality, there's much to be desired. Because we know people are dying to get our walking tours, they come up and collect them. Real cookie recipes go on the back. These real cookie recipes are from 1903, 1906, from the Presbyterian Church. They also, that time period drops in with our history of Florence. Some of the materials you just see if you've checked out, we found that the freedom of speech here in Colorado was taken all the way to the Supreme Court by a local case. We printed it on our cookie walking tour. More people stopped at the table and said, "Tell me more." So this service is not only for the preservation of our history, but to make our local people aware of the historic background that Florence has, not just in its building, but in the stories of its people. And therefore, the ability to scan, print, and dispense at a proper saving level of documentation is something that we're striving for. Paper. We print this size because we can't afford 4 pieces of paper. But the people want to see these maps and see these photos. And so we have enlarged them to, some of our photos are so bad, we have to use architectural drawings for some of our buildings. So with this wide graphic textual printing and storing capabilities, we're looking for paper, ink, you're laughing, as well as the ability to print them. The dissemination is keeping up, is keeping up with the demand. Any questions?
Any questions here? Yeah, I was just gonna say, you had a real specific amount, that
Yes, I was gonna bring that up.
$2,059 and some cents.
Yeah.
3 cents.
Rima paper, cartridges for a printer. We're pretty basic. Thanks. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great.
Next we have Florence Merchants Association.
Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Wolf. Thank you for allowing the Merchants Association to present our proposal for part of this year's outside agency funding. The Florence Merchants Association was founded 31 years ago by a group of volunteer business owners with the sole purpose of promoting local retail businesses and restaurants through advertising and sponsoring events to draw people to historic Florence. There's no overhead costs or salaries to pay, so 100% of our money collected through membership fees and also our once-a-year car show fundraiser is directly used for advertising and promotional goals. This is the first year that we have requested funding separate from the Chamber. Although we work together all the time with the Chamber on events, we do have similar but different mission statements and therefore are requesting funding with different project goals. There's a 4-part project proposal that we would like to submit this year. One is the condition of our benches downtown have gotten really bad. Most of them are made of wood slats, and you know how that fares in sun and in Colorado weather. So one of our goals is to use the funding to replace, I counted between 19 and 22 benches downtown. So that would be a large majority of the $4,000 that we are requesting. Another is to update the permanent corner directional post signs and make new ones for additional businesses that have recently joined downtown merchants, and some of them are just not there anymore. So we need to update those. The third goal is to move and paint the concrete planters. We have very large concrete planters downstairs. They're just kind of placed in different odd places, and we would like to paint those and put them in front of businesses that have consented to maintain them and water them. And the last one is to install solar lighting in the parkway trees from maple to petroleum in order to help grow our evening business atmosphere downtown. And what we hope to achieve by these objectives is a beautification and uniformity of the look of our historic downtown Florence area, and to provide a pleasant experience for all that visit Florence, as well as our residents to enjoy. We'd like to build an inviting evening atmosphere for events and shopping by providing more lighting and a comfortable place for patrons to sit and rest while walking or shopping. And lastly, to provide an updated small corner directional nameplates for people looking for businesses on and off Main Street. The funding would be used for 19 metal benches, the purchase of paint for our concrete planters, the purchase and installation of solar lighting in the parkway trees, and the purchase of new nameplates to update our corner directionals. We believe that this will create a positive and measurable effect in the historic downtown of Florence, Colorado, and we are happy to carry out these proposal missions should we be granted funding. If you have any questions or clarification for any of our project objectives?
Do you have any breakdowns of costs for those? You know, you're real specific on what you're looking at, but I was just wondering,
I do,
like,
yes.
how much does a metal bench cost?
Well, starting at $139 a piece. So that takes up a large chunk of what we're asking for. We could have asked for a total amount of what we truly need to complete everything on here, but we didn't want to feel greedy with what you all have to award everyone that's asking.
Some of that's pretty labor intensive. Are the merchants going to provide the labor?
Yes, yes. We have to put together, a lot of the benches obviously come apart. We'd have to
mean,
put those together,
the
paint.
painting of the-
Yes, yes, that will be done. It was partially already done this year, right before Juntique. And it was volunteers that put that together, organized that. Thank you, Tammy and friend. Any other questions or concerns, specific questions about the cost of things?
So you had brought up that you used to do things with the chambers of doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah, we still do coordinate. It's just that this is the first time we've ever asked for very specific funding for downtown, our downtown area.
Gotcha. And then, and I know everybody works kind of together, but like with the Arts Council, you know, they're doing things all throughout the city also. Have you reached out to them and maybe try to get them involved with some of this beautification across the city?
I think that when we do just figure out how much we're going to have to work with, that we will be reaching out for volunteers for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Florence Pioneer Museum and Research Center.
Good evening. My name is Marty Lamb, and I'm a volunteer at the Florence Pioneer Museum and Research Center. I'm here to talk tonight about why the museum would like to apply for the Florence City Outside Agency funding. Established in 1964, the Florence Pioneer Museum Board created a space and a place to preserve the history of our area. Our mission statement is to collect, preserve, and interpret the rich historical heritage of Florence, the surrounding mining towns, and eastern Fremont County. Over the years, the museum has created a venue for many programs and services for the local community. a youth history club for 3rd through 5th graders to learn the history of Florence, a coffee group, the Museum Irregulars, meet once a month to talk about the good old days. Clients from Star Point come to work on simple crafts to take home and share what they've learned at the museum. Community clubs and organizations come to visit the museum for personal guided tours. Homeschoolers, family researchers, students studying local history, and out-of-town schools have come to enjoy the displays of the museum. The museum participates in social and print media to get the word out about upcoming events and projects at the museum. Our latest project is to rehabilitate the 1894 Braden Griffith Block, a 3-story sandstone building on Front Street, the only extant structure of this type in Florence. A 3-phase project is in place to restore the Braden Griffith Room to its original condition while focusing on the health and safety of our future staff and visitors. Phase 1 of the project includes preparatory work for the next 2 phases. The repair of the severe and invasive water damage to a southern outside wall, the design and placement of an energy-efficient HVAC system, and the repair of poorly fitting windows and doors. The Y-2025 Appropriation Fund, a federal grant of $247,299, has been submitted for Phase 1. If the museum receives this grant, 25% matching funds will be required from us, and that is $61,825. We're asking the City of Florence to assist us with meeting this match amount by providing $5,000 through the outside agency funding request. The $5,000 will provide slightly over 8% of what the Florence Pioneer Museum and Research Center will be needing for this important rehabilitation project. Any questions?
Do you have any other sources going towards that 61,000?
Well, it'll be other grants that we apply for and any kind of fundraisers that we make through the rest of the year.
Do you have a deadline for that?
Not at this time.
Does this add any square footage to the museum?
No, it doesn't add any square
This is-
footage.
this
It's just,
is
re-
update-
it's
this
just
is
fixing what's there.
Updating existing building.
Mhm. And it's 3 floors, so it's a top floor, middle floor, and a bottom floor. So
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Next, we have Florence Senior Community Center.
Mayor Wolf, council members, my name is Harriet Stevenson. I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Florence Senior Community Center. The first thing I would like to do is thank you for this opportunity. Our membership was much larger before the pandemic of 2021. We had almost 200 members, and we were serving lunches to 40 to 50 people 3 days a week. We also would have 30 to 40 people at Wednesday night dance, Thursday night karaoke, and Friday night potluck music and jam. We currently have approximately 150 members and are serving lunches to about 15 seniors 3 days a week, with a sparse number of attendees at the evening events. This decrease is a direct result of the restrictions placed on our citizens by the pandemic. As a result, many of the elderly are now fearful of crowds and are staying in their homes, only going out when necessary. This isolation is very harmful to their physical and mental health. With that in mind, and if we receive this grant, we are trying to entice these people out of their homes by offering trips to the zoo or the state fair in Pueblo, and lunch and shopping excursions to Colorado Springs, maybe even a day at Cripple Creek, but that would only be for lunch. We would also like to do a mass mailing to all residents over 60 years of age in the vicinity, informing them of our activities, lunch program, evening events, and hopefully start new programs of interest to the elderly. This grant will have a significant impact for the many senior citizens of our community who are so severely affected by the recent pandemic and have not yet been able to return or resume their former normal activities. Once again, I would like to thank you for this opportunity, and I'm happy to take any of your questions.
How many people do you think are staying at home or
Well, we
haven't got
know.
back out? Do you have an estimate on how many?
We don't, no, we do not, sir, but we know of many of them right now that are not coming out and are not active as they were prior to the pandemic.
And most of these are people have been involved previously in this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And besides mass mailing, what other way would you advertise?
Well, we would consider whatever is available to us. We would like to do publications within the local papers. We also would consider doing radio spots if we got the money that we have asked for.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Next, we have JJ's Helping Paws.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Robin Kastman. I'm with JJ's Helping Paws. We are a 501c3 charitable nonprofit operating since 2014. So we're in our 10th year anniversary this year. We are 100% volunteer, including our board of directors. We've always been 100% volunteer. We have 4 key programs that we've offered since the beginning. In 2014, we have our low-cost spay-neuter program for people's pets, both cats and dogs. You can get your cat spayed for $15. You can opt for 2 additional vaccines for an additional $10. You can get your dog spayed for $80 with optional vaccines for $12. These compare to prices somewhere in the neighborhood, because all vets are different, somewhere in the neighborhood of starting at $200 if you were going to pay a full price through a vet, all the way up to probably $350, close to $400 for some dogs. So our rates are significantly lower, which helps people spay neuter multiple pets. If they have kittens, if they can't quite get to the preventive program, then they can work on having their kittens spayed and neutered, as well as puppies. That's a program we have exclusively for pet-owned animals. We also have what we call TNR, which is Trap, Neuter, and Return of Feral Cats. That's a separate program. These are cats that are owned by people, and in order to prevent an explosion of population of feral cats, we have a completely free program where we will help the owners trap. We will bring the cats to our facility or to another facility, whether it's a vet or in some cases spay-neuter clinics, and we will spay and neuter those animals completely for free. They then are returned to their owners. And we also have a complimentary program that helps them feed the animals. If you've got 7 or 8 cats to feed, it gets very expensive. We don't want those cats starving. So we work with other charitable organizations to acquire food. We provide food for almost 500 cats every single day through this program. They're all fixed. They're all vaccinated. We also have, in Canyon City, we have a cat rescue shelter. It's behind the McDonald's. We've had that for now almost 4 years, just about 4 years. We, in conjunction with our foster families, we take in surrendered animals. So if people need to surrender their cats, they can do so. It's a 100% free program that we offer. We know from experience that when you charge money for people to surrender their pets, it's a barrier to participation. Many people are abandoning their pets because they can't afford to drop them at other facilities. We're small, but we take in hundreds of cats a year. We either do local adoptions or we work with other adoptive organizations on the Front Range or in mountain communities, and we rehome these animals. We also provide medical care. Most of them are not up to date on their shots because, again, people can't afford it. Some are in need of medical care, so we give them medical care, get them fixed up, and then on their way to adoptive homes. We are asking for $1,500 that would support our the first 2 programs I described, which is low-cost spay-neuter for pet cats. We're not asking for dogs. We're just asking for the cat portion of that program, and the TNR program. The lion's share of that $1,500 we're requesting would go to our pet spay-neuter program. Feral cats actually come from pets that are dumped off and abandoned, that are not fixed. Nobody seems to dump a fixed cat. They all seem to dump intact cats, and that contributes, and that actually makes up the feral population. So the 2 programs go hand in hand. Let's see. We are the only organization in Fremont County, public or private, that has all of these programs at low cost or no cost. For our voucher programs, about a third of our vouchers we actually give out for free on hardship cases. Sometimes people will come to us and they'll say, I can afford 1 voucher. I'll come back next month and get one for my other cat, and we know how that goes. By the time they get back, their cat's pregnant. So we oftentimes will give about a third of our vouchers for free. Our goal is to operate preventive programs that are not just affordable but accessible. We are also wanting to eliminate the suffering that goes along with not spaying your animals, etc. So thank you for the opportunity to present.
Any questions here?
Do you still use local vets for the spade and neutering?
We do. We currently use Dr. Lisa Eskridge, who's been with us since day 1, and we also use 4 Mile Veterinary Services as well for a combination of pet spay-neuter and TNR, and we often, at least once a year or so, we have free pet clinics, and one of those vets will also participate in that. Sometimes they do it in conjunction. Dr. Eskridge will go to 4 Mile and do surgery there as well. Yeah, it's a nice partnership.
Thank you.
What sets you apart from the Humane Society?
Well, quite a bit. Because we're volunteer, we're able to offer our services at very low cost or no cost. Right now, they're charging $50 to surrender a cat that is spayed and $100 to surrender a cat that is unspayed. People are not spaying and neutering because they can't afford it. And if they can't afford the spay-neuter, they certainly can't afford to pay $100. We have people drive up to our shelter because they're living in their cars and they can't. They've been evicted. They can't afford to surrender their pets. So that's part of what separates us from the Humane Society. They do other animals. They take in some farm animals too. I think they take potbelly pigs and guinea pigs and other sorts of animals. We are only a cat shelter exclusively. And
just cats, period.
Just cats for the shelter. So our shelter that's located behind the McDonald's in Canyon is cats only. We unfortunately are not able to take dogs. And we also have a low-cost spay-neuter program. I don't believe they have any kind of preventive programs. So their model of business is quite different than ours.
But you do neuter dogs?
We do. We offer vouchers for dogs. We have two types. It's either a pit bull or a pit bull mix that comes $20 cheaper. It's about $60 to spay neuter. And then for any other variety dog, it's $80, which is hundreds of dollars cheaper than a traditional, any vet would charge. So it's quite affordable.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Miller Keto, American Legion Post 25.
Good evening, and thank you for letting us come to this presentation. My name is Ed Freshour. I'm the past commander of the Miller Keto American Legion Post 25 in Florence, Colorado. We're like the dandelion or the Canadian thistle that's around here. We come around, we get close to dying, and then we always come back. We've been here since 1919. When the veterans of the Great War came home, they found that they had to be united into one voice to get the things that they were promised by our government. The veterans of the Florence and Fremont County came together, and both Florence and Kansas City received charters as being amongst the first American Legion posts in the United States. Since then, the men and women of Florence area, including Coal Creek, Williamsburg, Rockvale, and Penrose, have worked together to make Post 25 a successful enterprise. Veterans of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and most recently the War on Terrorism have continued the traditions of the American Legion. The Legion is based on 4 pillars: rehabilitation of service members, Americanism, youth, and national security. Rehabilitation is to assist those who have physical injuries and those who are still fighting the wars in their mind. Americanism is the demonstration of both the pride in the United States through flying our flag, participating in parades and patriotic events. Youth pillar is instilling pride in the United States through the education and activities which engage young people through education, sports, and activities which challenge their minds and morals. The youth participate in activities that promote free speech, investigation to how the government works, and sports such as baseball and competitive shooting. National security, through the power of numbers and the power of vote, we guide our political leaders on what men and women of the military need to keep their families financially, physically secure, what kind of training and equipment soldiers, sailors, airmen, and spacemen need to do their jobs to keep them safe and to protect our nation. The Florence American Legion Post has a long history of participating in city events, parades, waving the flag, and promoting Americanism. The Florence American Legion has worked with youth providing scholarships to deserving young people, providing baseball teams, and to be physically fit to play in competitive leagues, and to encourage free speech and public debate through the oratorical contest, and by providing introduction to leadership of how American government works by selecting interested boys and girls to participate in Boys State and Girls State summer programs. Post 25 has flourished and foundered, but has always been able to find and maintain a presence in our community. When our times were good and members were flush, the city of Florence and the city of Florence and the American Legion came together to provide any honorably discharged veteran a place to be laid to rest at minimal expense to the veterans and his family. The city of Florence sold Section 71 of the Union Highlands Cemetery to the veterans as the Veterans Section, with special pricing for honorably discharged vets. In 2001, Post 25 raised money to install a 48-space columbarium which was placed within Section 71 of the cemetery. Over the last 20 years, this columbarium has become nearly full. Because of this, the Miller Keto Post is raising funds to purchase another 48-niche columbarium to be erected on a foundation which our previous members of the Post saw fit to build when they built the first columbarium and was put into place. The cost of a new columbarium, shipping, and placement will be approximately $30,000 to $40,000. We are right now engaged in fundraising with 2 raffles to be conducted during the upcoming Pioneer Days. These funds will be used to help purchase the new columbarium. However, due to our declining and aging membership, fundraising to keep our post building looking respectable has become difficult. Things like insurance, heating, electricity are continually rising, and are the costs, as so are the costs of national dues. What we take in through bingo does not leave us enough money to keep the physical building in a presentable appearance. We are looking for other ways to finance the maintenance of our building. City funds would help us navigate through the day-to-day expenses while we work with other philanthropic organizations for funding to improve our building and to bring it into shape with the Legion and the City of Florence that we can be proud of. What we do with the pictures that are in your packet are some of the things that the Legion has done. The first picture is the charter of the American Legion for Florence, which came from 1919. Second picture is the pictures of some of the original members and survivors of World War I, who were the original members of the Florence. The middle picture is the Florence Post House, and the others are self-explanatory. Since we've never asked for money from the city before, except for last year when it was presented to us that we could, we're asking now that for anything that you can offer us, we would be appreciative to obtain.
Any questions here? How many spaces do you have left in your present columbarium?
Probably less than 20. And with the aging population of the World War II vets, the Korean War vets, and Vietnam vets, they're going fast.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nature's Educators.
Awesome. All right. You guys hear me? My name is Devin. Thank you so much. I'm the founder and director of Nature's Educators. So I've got a little packet going around, which is a little bit different than the grant packet. So some of you guys know us, some of you don't. So I'm just going to go over who we are and what we do every day. So I founded this organization in 2008 in Canyon City. We moved to Florence area in 2020. We are licensed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Wyoming Game and Fish, Pennsylvania Game Commission, USDA. So we house and care for human-raised and non-releasable wildlife for educational programs. We travel all over the nation to give presentations. We're actually housed right here in Florence. Super cool. In 2023 alone, we gave 1,330 individual presentations. 562 of those were here in Fremont County. 61 were in Florence. And this is kind of funny, I put this in the wrong order. 27 of those in Florence were open to the public. County Fair, Library, Desert Reef, obviously the USP was not open to the public. Do you guys know what that is? Okay. I guess it depends on how you consider that. Veterans Home. We also held a free Earth Day event that was open to the public in Florence that brought in over 350 people. It's the first Earth Day event that's been held here. We've conducted programs in person in Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, New Mexico, Kansas, and Pennsylvania. We currently employ 10 people, 3 of which specifically moved from Denver to Florence for this job. We currently care for 33 educational birds, 15 other birds, 3 rabbits, and 20 herptiles, which are reptiles, amphibians, and then invertebrates. Some of our biggest expenses in 2023, animal food alone for us was almost $20,000. Veterinary costs, over $15,000. Travel was over $23,000. Insurance, over $15,000. And then salaries, benefits, workman comp, payroll taxes, all that, almost $200,000. So we are asking for a grant that would help us purchase all the supplies that are currently on our Amazon wish list. Tomorrow's Amazon Prime Day, just so everybody is aware of that. Very important for everybody that's in here listening. But these supplies are things that we use to help us, clean our animal enclosures, provide enrichments, keep our facilities clean, and continue going out to do education programs at schools, libraries, festivals, events, and wherever else. Quick and easy, boom. Any questions?
Again, how many presentations did you give in Florence last year?
61.
61?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Awesome, thanks guys.
And Pioneer Pioneer Day Board.
Hi, I'm Tony Schaefer. I'm the Pioneer Day Board President. I would first like to thank you, the council and the city of Florence, for considering us for this funding. We are a 501c3 organization whose sole purpose is to organize and facilitate the Pioneer Day Parade, barbecue lunch, and festivities at the Pioneer Park. We complete this with a totally volunteer staff. Pioneer Day is an annual event. It's usually it is always the third Saturday of September. And it's a time-honored tradition starting in 1927. This being our 96th year, with COVID year being the only one I'm aware of that was missed. Our mission statement is to honor the city of Florence and its pioneers. We believe it is important to keep small town traditions and promote pride in our community, as Penrose does with Apple Day and Canyon City does with Blossom Days. The celebration actually starts on a Friday night with the crowning of the King and Queen and honoring our parade marshal and distinguished citizen at the Elks Club, with a ceremony followed by a dance. We thank the Elks for partnering with us on that endeavor. The parade in park follows on Saturday, with the parade starting at 10 a.m. and at noon after the parade, we feed the registered pioneers, the bands, the Army and Air Force Color Guard, the volunteers, any first responders, and the city crews working that day. Last year we served 245 lunches, and this year I confirmed that the Fountain Fort Carson High School band will be attending, and that will be 140 alone, more than we served last year. Pioneer Day has also been a part of each year's class reunions, and if the group celebrating their reunion chooses to register as pioneers and meet the criteria, they too are served. Between the parade, the lunch, the vendors' booths, and food trucks, I'm sure that more than 1,000 people enjoy that day. We never did take an actual reading, but I'm sure with the parade and everything, there's probably more than that. Until recently, we have always relied completely on donations from our sponsors, the merchants, and the city of Florence to fund this. A few years ago, we partnered with the Farmers Market, and they generously donate the money they receive from the vendors' booths and food trucks at the park to help with our expenses. There were times in the past we ended up in the red, and the board members helped with their own money. Our main expenses include the food, which Big D does help us with, tables and chairs that we used to rent each year, and now we receive help from St. Benedict's. They let us use our chairs, at least this year. We have additional smaller expenses for plaques, banners, insurances, and pavilion fees, etc. The city of Florence always generously provides the staff for road closure, trash receptacles, and the bathroom facilities. We have started a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce that hopefully will grow and help, and I was notified today the Merchants Group will be donating to help with expenses also. This year, as mentioned earlier, we anticipate a larger crowd, and we will also be providing the additional bathroom facilities this year. That is why we are asking for the funding, to help us ensure we can meet our expenses and continue the tradition for many years to come. I thank you again for the opportunity, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns you have at this time.
Any questions? Thank you for
All right, thank you.
Pioneer Day. I'd like to thank all the applicants for their presentations. I'd like to say well done to everybody. It's, yeah. You know, the thing that struck me is that interconnection there is between so many of the different groups in town and how they help each other out and help promote Florence and do things for Florence. So thank you very much. And again, August 5th, workshop starting at 5 o'clock prior to the council meeting. We will have the questions that we've come up with, and if you'd like to be here and help answer any questions, specific questions we have, we can do that. Okay. Any other comments from council? Okay. Carlin, right, there was no public comments? Okay. All right. Again, thank you, folks. Item 5, consent agenda. 5A, consider approving the minutes as written for the regular city council meeting on July 1, 2024. Item B, considering approving city expenditures prepared on July 4, 2024 in the amount of $4,100.47 and July 11th in the amount of $92,362.83. Item C, consider approving the annual liquor license renewal for the Green Parrot Lounge. Item D, consider approving the agreement for water service for 1305 West 4th Street, Florence, Colorado. And item E, consider ratifying the purchase of 150 sections of crowd control barricade. At this point, would any of the council members want to pull any one of those items? I'd like to pull item E, please. Consider ratifying the purchase of 150 sections of crowd control barricade. Okay. Anybody else? All right, do we have a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, and D?
I'll make a motion. We do consent agenda 5, A, B, C, and E.
Okay.
Nope, sorry. A, B, C, and D.
And D, okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. All right. Item E, consider ratifying the purchase of 150 sections of crowd control barricade. City manager.
So this is an example of where we had a minor purchasing policy violation. We thought that the price was going to end up being $13,948.80, which would come out of the equipment budget. And when expedited shipping was requested, the ordering staff member neglected to get the cost for expedited shipping. And when it came back as $16,435, which is of course above the city manager's spending authority of $15,000. While we could have returned the item, there would have been a restocking fee, which would have resulted in the item ending up costing this much or potentially even more, and we would not have had it. So we chose to look in the purchasing policy, see how we dealt with a violation, and because this falls under health and safety of any person, public or private, it requires that we provide a full report to the council when a violation has occurred, and the CAF is intended to serve as that report.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
My comment is something easily rectified, easily, I mean, who thinks actually about that added cost for expediting on something that was so well worth the purchase and lesson learned? And yeah, so.
Absolutely. Both the finance director and myself spoke with the staff member and any other staff members that have ordering responsibility and reminded them that if there's a change in shipping speed or anything like that, that is something that we need to ensure that we get a quote on moving forward to make sure that we're still meeting the purchasing policy and not moving into another threshold of the purchasing policy because of a cost difference.
And one of the reasons I pulled this, I just wanted to have complete transparency to the community out there, and also just to show how the new purchasing policy that we've enacted was very, very effective in this point. You know, there was a mechanism by which to handle the situation, and again, you know, we're out there trying to hide, you know, a purchase that went a little bit over the spending limit, and so thank you. And the reports that I got, it is well worth it because the safety that it provided down at the wet side of the parade was really, really good. Okay. All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to, where'd my paper go here?
I move to ratify the purchase of 150 sections of crowd control barricades in the amount of $16,435.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Thank you, Matt. Old business. Consider approving the second reading of ordinance number 8-2024, an ordinance approving rezoning of lots 17 through 20, Block L of the United Oil Company's Mesa subdivision from I-1 Light Industrial Zone District to R1 Low Density Residential Zone District. City Manager?
This is a housekeeping item. This is the statutorily required second reading of this ordinance. The first reading being passed on the July 1st.
Any questions? We have a motion to approve reading of ordinance number 8-2024.
I'll make a motion. We approve the second reading of ordinance number 8-2024, an ordinance approving the rezoning of lots 17, 18, 19, and 20, Block L of the United Oil Company's Mesa subdivision from I-1 Light Industrial Zone District to R1 Low Density Residential Zone District.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Stone?
Yes.
Counselor McKinnon?
Yes.
Counselor Van Houten?
Yes.
Counselor Stiefel?
Yes.
Counselor Mergelman?
Yes.
Counselor Gardner?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Item 7, council updates. City council reports. Rudel.
The only thing I had down was, usually there's a representative of the city, of the working bunch over here, complimenting on the work for the 4th of July. That was an incredible celebration, and city people outdid themselves. I brought Sam his yearly duck, and he doesn't show up. So I might have to present it to him privately.
Brenda.
I'd like to thank the city and for all the hard work they did. The parade was absolutely phenomenal, and the park was great. A lot of people showed up, and what a nice way to celebrate 4th of July.
Matt.
No report.
Tammy.
Yeah, the parade was awesome. I did. I went to a couple of meetings, the Chamber of Commerce. They are working on a fall festival and also some business workshops. And they're having a business after hours this coming Thursday, the 18th, downtown at 118 East Main, and that's the Baker's Rack, and I believe it starts at 5. Yeah. The other one, the merchant meeting, and they're working on also some events for the fall. Both meetings, there was a presentation from the Advisory Tree Board to the Florence City Council. And I also did a bell tower. They had an art reception and the Blue Spruce, and they're both worth visiting.
Okay, and you said that business after hours is?
It's at the Baker's Rack, 118 East Main, Thursday the 18th.
Okay. Okay, James.
I do not have anything to report.
Gail.
I want to thank all the city crew that did the 4th. It was awesome. Attended the city-county meeting a week ago Monday, and July 30th will be the preservation meeting at 4:30 here.
Okay. My mayor's report, I'd like to thank, again, the city staff for the 4th of July celebration. And I'd like to thank Cortland for all of her work doing the organization. We just did the debrief and got ideas for a way to make things better for next year. And again, just, I don't think people realize how much work the city staff has to put in to pull this off. I also attended the city-county meeting. The county fair, this is the 100th anniversary of the county fair coming up. One of the things that the Fremont County is promoting on Thursday, August 1st, between 1 and 3 p.m. They're honoring the longtime Fremont County attorney, Brenda Jackson. And that's going to be from 1 to 3. I also attended the Mayor's Roundtable up in Silver Cliff. It was attended by all the normal mayors. And we also had representatives from UCOG, and Justin Kurth from Representative Pedersen's office was there. Lots of talk about what's going on in all the cities. A lot of talk about grants that were up there, and I know we have one mini grant that we've got for, and the impression was we could apply for another mini grant, and I passed that word along to city staff. So see what we can do there. Attended senior coffee, attended the merchants meeting. And the other big thing I would like to do, I'd like to thank the city staff for working out a solution for Pioneer Park bathrooms. A couple of the council members had received, I'm not going to say complaints, but inquiries as to why it wasn't open on the weekends, why it was shut at like 3:30 in the afternoon. And we just presented that to city staff, and city manager got everybody together, and they worked out a solution to it, to keeping it open 7 days a week, 7 to 10. Again, just I think a really good example of how we have effective leadership, can work to help get things done, get cooperation between the different departments. And I also, they also put some stipulations on it, like if things start to happen, especially in the evening, the consequence of that will be closing it down. And this will just be for the summer. As soon as it gets dark out, the pool is not open anymore, they'll start closing it a little bit sooner. But again, real responsive to requests that, kind of immediate impact that really is impactful for the citizens of Florence. Okay. City manager.
Thank you. I wanted to echo that I think staff did a great job with the 4th of July, but I also wanted to thank council for all the support and help that they provided to staff, because we couldn't have done the event without your help. As the mayor mentioned, we did receive a mini grant from UACOG for pool facade improvements. It's a $10,000 grant. We do a $5,000 match, but that'll go toward a long way toward improving some of the facade work. And we have a couple of other ideas to turn in. And please keep encouraging people to sign up for the electronic billing, auto pay, reducing paperless billing. I believe we're already up to almost 15% enrolled in paperless in just the first month. So please keep pushing that. And staff has done a great job of making themselves available to help on an individual basis to anyone who comes in here and asks.
Any questions for city manager?
I just wanted to mention that at the city-county meeting we went to, there was some concern by some people if we're watching our pool, so Fremont County can have a swimming pool. And we assured them we were watching our pool.
Any other comments or questions? City attorney, anything?
I don't really think I have anything to update y'all on.
Does anybody have any reason to go into executive session? Hearing none, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Council meeting is adjourned at 7:49. Millie.
We'll get air conditioning seats next
Millie.